Hello, my friend. Today we are going to create a relationship between users and board. So currently, when creating a user or board, there is nothing said about the relationship between the two. So when creating a board, we must also include information about which user created the board. So we will handle the relationship between this user and the board. So first, a formation of a relationship between users and board data. So to form a relationship, we need to put field in entity like this. Inside this user entity, we need to put that board's field to form a relationship between user and board. And inside this board entity, we need to put this user to form a relationship between user and board. So if we see this relationship user and the board, from the user perspective, this one is a one-to-many relationship. Because if you see this one-to-many relationship explanation, so one-to-many relationship allow creating the type of relation where entity one can have multiple instances of entity two. So entity one, this user can have multiple instances of entity 2 board. User can have a lot of board instances, but the entity 2 has only one entity. So, but this the board has only one user. And if you see here, many to one relations. From this board perspective, this relationship is many to one relationship. So a many to one relations allow creating the type of relations where entity 1 can have a single instance of entity 2. So now this one becomes entity 1 and this one is entity 2. And but the entity 2 can have the multiple instances of entity 1. So entity 1 is the owner of the relationship and store the ID of entity 2 on each side of the relations. So from the user, this relationship is one to many. So we need to put this board, and above the board, we need to put this one to many decorator. So, and we also need to put the three parameter here. So first one is the type of that column. So that is the board. And the second parameter is inverse size. Uh, to access as a user on the board, you need to access as a board as. So inside this board, if you want to access this user, you can just access a board, and user. And the last parameter is option. Then we can give the eager true, and if eager is true, the board is also fetched when user information is fetched. So if this one is the true, this eager is true, when we get this user information, we also try to get this board information inside this user. And now we are going to our text editor and put that relationship inside the entities. So first we go to the user entity here, or we can put the one to many relationship, and we need to say boards, and this one's type is board, and this one will be array because lots of boards inside in here, not just one board. And we need to put the three arguments in here. First one is type. Type is a board, and the second one is a board. How we can access this user inside the board entity, that is the board and user. This one has error right now because inside the board entity we didn't specify the user column, so that's why we get the error right now. And then we also give the eager true to get the board data when we are trying to fetch this user data. So we also need to go to the board entity and in here we need to put the many to one relationship. This one is the user and type is a user entity, and we need to give the type is a user entity, and we need to access the board from the user, so we can put the user and then boards, because we specify boards inside the user, so user and board we can access uh, this board from the user. This one is inverse side, and we also eager force. So this is if for the forming a relationship between the user and board. So by using this relationship, we are going to make some authorization from now on. So thank you for watching this video and see you later. Hello, my friend. Today we are going to enter user information when creating a board. So the relationship between users and boards was formed using entities. So now when we actually create a board, we will put user information into the board. So first, we need to request to create a board and user information as a token in the header. And creating a board by forming a relationship between user and information and boards. So if you see here in the controller, so this one is a board controller. We didn't put the user information in here, but now we need to put the user information together, because when creating a board, we also need to put the user information together. So that's why we also need to put the user information. User information already is stored inside the request objects, so we can fetch that user object inside the request object. So we can first go to the text editor in here and come to the board controller when creating a user. So this one, when creating a user, we didn't put the user information here. but now we need to, so in here we made the get user parameter by using this parameter like this, and get the user information here. This type is a user entity, and we put this user in here together. So we need to go to the board service here, and we get the user 2 in here, user. And when we make this board or instance, we also need to put the user information too, like this. So now we are trying to create the board. So we will see whether the user information is stored well inside this the board table. So first we go to the Postman. So we will create a board, but first we need to log in. So we need to get the token. So by using the token, we can actually create it. So because we have the authentication process by putting this, if you come in here for its controller, you can see a use card and a scar. So because of this, we need to get through the authentication process. So come to the login, and yeah, we get this token, and we put this token when creating the boards. So inside in here, Bella token, and put it in, and then we use we are going to use the title one and description one and trying to create it. Yeah, we create it, and then we come to the post PG admin, and inside the board table, and you can see the user ID, and a user ID 7 user create this title, so it is good. So now we make sure the user information was stored inside this board table too. So thank you for watching this video, and see you later. Hello my friend. Today we are going to edit the board. So far, anyone can actually edit any board. So without taking care of authentication, we can just edit the board if we want to. But it is not ideal. Actually, only the person who created that board can edit the board. That is right. So when we just update the board status, we still need the user object. So by using the user object, we need to find out whether this user who are trying to update this board is authenticated or not. So we need to use this get user decorator, get the user object in here. So when we update the board, we also put this user object in here. So when we update the board in here, we use this get board by ID. But when we use this get board by ID method, we put the user object here too. Originally, we just put this board's ID, but we need to put the user ID here too. So by using this user ID inside this get board by ID method, when we find the board object inside the database, we make one more condition with this user ID. We are going to find the board only this specific user made. So if this user didn't create this board, we cannot get this board object. So we will get this can find board with ID. So that means we cannot edit that specific board. So only the user who created that board can edit that board. So first we go to the text editor. So if we come in here, this is for this updating the board. So inside this handler, we need to get the user object. So by using the get user decorator, we will get the user and user type, and we put this user object inside in here too. And we go to this method update board status. So when we use this get board by ID, we only put this ID so far, but we also need to put this user. So user here. So when we try to get this board by ID, we also need to use this user condition in here, not just defined by board ID. We also put this user ID too, uh, where ID and user ID is user that comes from here, user. This one is like ID and ID, you know that, but inside the ES6 we can omit that part, so we put this user here and then ID. So we want to find this board with this board ID and this user ID. So only the user who created this board can get this board object inside here found. So that's it. This is all we need to do. To change that authentication part, only the authenticated user can update that status. But if you come to this board controller, or inside it, this get board by ID, you can see this error. Um, to to solve this problem, we need to put this user object here too. To do that, we need to get the user object by using the get user and user. Okay, that's it. So thank you for watching this video and see you later. Hello my friend. This time we are going to implement a function that allows you to delete only the boards you have created. So far anyone can delete any board, so that makes a problem. So only the authenticated user, maybe more than that, just only the user who have created the board can delete the board. So that's better. So when we delete the board in here, by using get user decorator, we will get user object. And when we use this delete board method, we put this user to get user object in here. So when we use this delete method to delete that specific board with the ID, we put this user ID too, not only just board ID. So that's what we need to do. So go to our text editor, and in here, so inside this delete board handler, we use the get user decorator, and then we bring the user object here, and we put this user as a second parameter for the delete board method. And so go to the board service. Uh, we will get the user, and then when we delete the board, not only just to use this ID, so board ID, we also put this user information in here. So now by doing like this, only the user who created this board can delete the board. So that's it. So if we tried it by using the Postman, so first we are going to create a new board. But first, to create the board, we need to sign in. So I'm going to use username 3 and password 1. So I'm going to, first I need to run the server npm run start dev. So come back to the Postman, and I'm going to click this one again. So I got the access token after successfully the logged in, and I'm going to create the board here. Board a title 4 and description 4. And when we just make it, we also need to put the token here as a barrel token. So I'm going to click this send button. So now we create this board title 4 and description 4. So I'm trying to just delete this board. So using this method, and then local host of 5000, and if you see the path inside the controller, we need to give the board ID here. So we know the board's ID is ID 5. So we need to put the 5 in here without the token right now. So I'm trying to delete it. So uh, I think the port is the 3000. I'm sorry about that. So I'm going to send it again. So you can see this message unauthorized. So that means only the created user or the person who created this board can delete this board. So we need to put that token in here. I'm going to bring the token again in here. um, put it in here and then try to delete again. So now you can see nothing in here. That means it is deleted well. So thank you for watching this video, and I think it's all for the Nest.js course. So I hope you learn a lot about the Nest.js. So if you have some question, you can just leave the comment below. So thank you for watching this video and see you later.